Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and now for one of my favorite things to do, um, is to have ourselves a bit of a read off. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have a reading. Um, Now let me see if we can't make this a little bit prettier. Let's see. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Let's drop this here. A little bit of chapstick. You feel me? Okay. So this is a long time coming. In my previous video, we talked about Mary Wollstonecraft's Vindication on the Rights of Women. And basically, what I told you in that video was that after reading that book, I am even more secure in my feelings that women don't need rights at all. Um, Now, Mary Wollstonecraft responds to a few writers of the time, or writings of the time, um, to fuel her arguments, and particularly in the nature of Alexander Pope. You know, she just completely missed, the point in what he said, of what he was saying. She didn't even miss it. You know, I act because I the way I see it is, I don't think I don't think women really miss like jokes and stuff. For real, I mean, I do, but I don't really think they miss jokes. I think they just especially in this case, they evade them, right? Like they dodge them. The accountability problem that we talk about, right? Now, as well, it shouldn't be ignored that this was written in the 1700s. Let me double check this. Hold on, one second. 1735 to be exact is when the Epistle to a Lady was written, and let's not forget that Mary Wollstonecraft's book was written in 1792. So yeah, this is a time. But yeah, let's get into the reading. I might do a little bit of analysis here and there, but really it's just to have the poem here, and feel free to read along with me and see it for yourself. But yeah, so nothing so true as what you once let fall. Most women have no characters at all. Matter too soft, a lasting mark to bear, and best distinguished by black, brown, or fair. How many pictures of one nymph we view, all how unlike each other, all how true. Arcadia's countess, here in ermined pride, is there Pastora by a fountain side. Here Phania, leering on her own good man, and there a naked Leda with a swan. Let then the fair one beautifully cry, in Magdalen's loose hair and lifted eye, or dressed in smiles of sweet Cecilia shine, with simpering angels, palms and harps divine. Whether the charmer sinner it, or saint it, if folly grows romantic, I must paint it. Come then, the colors in the ground prepare, dip in the rainbow, trick her off in air, choose a firm cloud before it fall, and in it catch ere she change the Cynthia of this minute. Rufa, whose eye quick glancing o'er the park attracts each light gay meteor of a spark, agrees as ill with Rufa's studying lock as Sappho's diamonds with her dirty smock, or Sappho at her toilet's greasy task, with Sappho fragrant at an evening mask. So morning insects that in muck begun shine, buzz, and fly blow in the setting sun. How soft is Cilia, fearful to offend, the frail one's advocate, the weak one's friend. To her, Callista proved her conduct nice, and good Simplicius asks of her advice. Sudden she storms, she raves, you tip the wink, but spare your censure, Cilia does not drink. All eyes may see from what the change arose. All eyes may see a pimple on her nose. Papilia, wedded to her doting spark, sighs for the shades, how charming is a park. A park is purchased, but the fair he sees, all bathed in tears. Oh, odious, odious trees. Ladies, like variegated tulips, show 'tis to their changes that their charms they owe. Their happy spots the nice admirer take, fine by defect and delicately weak. 'Twas thus Calypso, once each heart alarmed, awed without virtue, without beauty charmed, her tongue bewitched as oddly as her eyes, less wit than mimic, more a wit than wise. Strange graces still and stranger flight she had, was just not ugly and was just not mad, yet ne'er so sure our passion to create as when she touched the brink of all we hate. Narcissus' nature, tolerably mild, to make a wash would hardly stew a child, has even been proved to grant a lover's prayer, and paid a tradesman once to make him stare, gave alms at Easter in a Christian trim, and made a widow happy for a whim. Why then declare good nature is her scorn, when 'tis by that alone she can be born? Why pique all mortals, yet affect a name, a fool to pleasure, yet a slave to fame? Now deep in Taylor and the Book of Martyrs, now drinking citron with his grace and charters. Now conscience chills her, and now passion burns, and atheism and religion take their turns. A very heathen in the carnal part, yet still a sad good Christian at her heart. See sin in state, majestically drunk, proud as a peeress, prouder as a punk, chaste to her husband, frank to all beside, a teeming mistress, but a barren bride. What then? Let blood and body bear the fault. Her head's untouched, that noble seat of thought. Such this day's doctrine, in another fit, she sins with poets through pure love of wit. What has not fired her bosom or her brain? Caesar and Tallboy, Charles and Charlemagne. As Helluo, late dictator of the feast, the nose of Hautgout, and the tip of taste. Critiqued your wine and analyzed your meat, yet on plain pudding deigned at home to eat. So Philomade, lecturing all mankind on the soft passion and the taste refined. The address, the delicacy, stoops at once, and makes her hearty meal upon a dunce. Flavia's a wit, has too much sense to pray, to toast our wants and wishes is her way, nor asks of God but of her stars to give the mighty blessing while we live to live. Then all for death, that opiate of the soul, Lucretia's dagger, Rosamunda's bowl. Say what can cause such impotence of mind, a spark too fickle or a spouse too kind? Wise wretch, with pleasures too refined to please, with too much spirit to be e'er at ease, with too much quickness ever to be taught, with too much thinking to have common thought. You purchase pain with all that joy can give. With all that joy can give, and die of nothing but a rage to live. Turn then from wits, and look on Simo's mate. No ass so meek, no ass so obstinate. Or her that owns her faults, but never mends, because she's honest and the best of friends. Or her whose life the church and scandal share, forever in a passion or a prayer. Or her who laughs at hell, but, like her grace, cries, ah, how charming if there's no such place. Or who in sweet vicissitude appears of mirth and opium, ratafie and tears, the daily anodyne and nightly draught, to kill those foes to fair ones time and thought. Woman and fool are two hard things to hit, for true no meaning puzzles more than wit. But what are these to great Atossa's mind, scarce once herself by turns all womankind, who with herself or others from her birth finds all her life one warfare upon earth? Shines in exposing knaves and painting fools, yet is whate'er she hates and ridicules. No thought advances, but her eddy brain whisks it about, and down it goes again. Full 60 years the world has been her trade, the wisest fool much time has ever made. From loveless youth to unrespected age, no passion gratified except her rage. So much the fury still outran the wit, the pleasure missed her, and the scandal hit. Who breaks with her provokes revenge from hell, but he's a bolder man who dares be well. Her every turn with violence pursued, nor more a storm her hate than gratitude. To that each passion turns, or soon or late. Love, if it makes her yield, must make her hate. Superiors, death, and equals, what a curse! But an inferior, not dependent, worse. Offend her, and she knows not to forgive. Oblige her, and she'll hate you while you live. But die, and she'll adore you. Then the bust and temple rise, then fall again to dust. Last night, her lord was all that's good and great. A knave this morning, and his will be a cheat. Strange, by the means defeated of the ends, by spirit robbed of power, by warmth of friends, by wealth of followers without one distress, sick of herself through very selfishness. A toss accursed with every granted prayer, childless with all her children, once an heir. To heirs unknown descends the unguarded store, or wanders heaven directed to the poor. Pictures like these, dear madam, to design asks no firm hand and no unerring line. Some wandering touch or some reflected light, some flying stroke alone can hit 'em right. For how should equal colors do the knack? Chameleons who can paint in white and black. Yet Chloe sure was formed without a spot. Nature in her then erred not, but forgot. With every pleasing, every prudent part, say what can Chloe want? She wants a heart. She speaks, behaves, and acts just as she ought, but never, never reached one generous thought. Virtue she finds too painful an endeavor, content to dwell in decencies forever. So very reasonable, so unmoved, as never yet to love, or to be loved. She, while her lover pants upon her breast, can mark the figures on an Indian chest, and when she sees her friend in deep despair, observes how much a chintz exceeds mohair. Forbid it, heaven, a favor or a debt, she e'er should cancel, but she may forget. Safe is your secret, still in Chloe's ear, but none of Chloe's shall you ever hear. Of all her dears, she never slandered one, but cares not if 1,000 are undone. Would Chloe know if you're alive or dead? She bids her footman put it in her head. Chloe is prudent. Would you too be wise? Then never break your heart when Chloe dies. One certain portrait may I grant be seen, which heaven has varnished out and made a queen, the same forever and described by all, with truth and goodness as with crown and ball. Poets heap virtues, painters gems at will, and show their zeal and hide their want of skill. 'Tis well, but artists who can paint or write, to draw the naked is your true delight. That robe of quality so struts and swells, none see what parts of nature it conceals. The exactest traits of body or of mind we owe to models of an humble kind. If Queensberry to strip, there's no compelling. 'Tis from a handmaid we must take a Helen. From peer or bishop 'tis no easy thing to draw the man who loves his God or king. Alas, I copy, or my draught would fail from honest Mamet or plain Parson Hale. But grant, in public, men sometimes are shown, a woman seen in private life alone. Our bolder talents in full light displayed, your virtues open fairest in the shade. Bred to disguise, in public 'tis you hide, there none distinguish twixt your shame or pride. Weakness or delicacy, all so nice, that each may seem a virtue or a vice. In men we various ruling passions find, in women two almost divide the kind. Those only fixed they first or last obey, the love of pleasure and the love of sway. That nature gives, and where the lesson taught is still to please, can pleasure seem a fault? Experience this by man's oppression cursed. They seek the second, not to lose the first. Men some to business, some to pleasure take, but every woman is at heart a rake. Men some to quiet, some to public strife, but every lady would be queen for life. Yet mark the fate of a whole sex of queens, power all their end, but beauty all the means. In youth they conquer with so wild a rage as leaves them scarce a subject in their age. For foreign glory, foreign joy they roam, no thought of peace or happiness at home. But wisdom's triumph is well-timed retreat, as hard a science to the fair as great. Beauties like tyrants old and friendless grown, yet hate repose and dread to be alone. Worn out in public, weary every eye, nor leave one sigh behind them when they die. Pleasures the sex as children birds pursue, still out of reach yet never out of view. Sure, if they catch, to spoil the toy at most, to covet flying and regret when lost. At last, to folly's youth could scarce defend, it grows their age's prudence to pretend, ashamed to own they gave delight before, reduced to feign it when they give no more. As hags hold Sabbaths less for joy than spite, so these their merry, miserable night. Still round and round the ghosts of beauty glide, and haunt the places where their honor died. See how the world its veterans rewards, a youth of frolics, an old age of cards. Fair to no purpose, artful to no end, young without lovers, old without a friend. A fop their passion, but their prize a sought, alive, ridiculous, and dead, forgot. Ah, friend, to dazzle let the vain design, to raise the thought and touch the heart be thine. That charm shall grow while what fatigues the ring flaunts and goes down an unregarded thing. So when the sun's broad beam has tired the sight, all mild ascends the moon's more sober light. Serene in virgin modesty she shines, and unobserved the glaring orb declines. Oh, blessed with temper, whose unclouded ray can make tomorrow cheerful as today. She who can love a sister's charms or hear sighs for a daughter with unwounded ear. She who ne'er answers till a husband cools, or if she rules him, never shows she rules. Charms by accepting, by submitting sways, yet has her humor most when she obeys. Let fops her fortune fly which way they will, disdains all loss of tickets or codille. Spleen, vapors, or smallpox above them all, and mistress of herself, though China fall. And yet, believe me, good as well as ill, woman's at best a contradiction still. Heaven, when it strives to polish all it can, its last best work, but forms a softer man. Picks from each sex to make the favorite blessed. Your love of pleasure, our desire of rest, blends an exception to all general rules. Your taste of follies with our scorn of fools. Reserve with frankness, art with truth allied, courage with softness, modesty with pride. Fixed principles with fancy ever new, shakes all together and produces you. Be this a woman's fame, with this unblessed. Toasts live a scorn, and queens may die a jest. This Phoebus promised, I forget the year, when those blue eyes first opened on the sphere. Ascendant Phoebus watched that hour with care, averted half your parents' simple prayer, and gave you beauty, but denied the pelf, which buys your sex a tyrant or itself. The generous God, who wit and gold refines, and ripens spirits as he ripens minds, kept dross for duchesses, the world shall know it. To you gave sense, good humor, and a poet. Alexander Pope went crazy in this. And if there is anything to glean from this poem, it is the fact that nothing is new. Out of what we experience from women, out of what we notice out of the dynamic of the sexes, none of this that we are observing is new. See, the question is, how are we going to deal with this? And certainly as men, right? Um, if we are to say that and agree, right, acknowledge that we do indeed have dominion over all things, and that includes women. That includes women. After all, we are the ones who were told about our dominion, right? The woman was not. The woman. It was not declared that a woman has dominion. She can't have dominion. She cannot have dominion. She doesn't have the glory of a man. She doesn't have, what he has. Then we must do what is necessary. Candace Owens had this. She said it multiple times, but actually she recently said it in a debate that she had with a bunch of feminists on the Jubilee YouTube channel recently, where she asserted that we are indeed living in a matriarch at this time as opposed to a patriarch. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I think that is absolutely true. These are the things that we have been saying for a very long time. And, what's interesting is, Fanon talks about this concept of the capitulation of man, and this being the real essence of life, the real point of life. The capitulation of man, okay, is first of all, starts off his agreement to not slaughter every man, every person in his sight. Okay? The first part of the capitulation of man is civilization itself. Okay? And that's enough. All right? Coexistence is enough for the capitulation of man. Okay? Now, beyond that, all this trying to soften for women and, appeasing them and pedestalizing them and all of that, you know what I'm saying? It's not going to end well for our society. And we can see that quite clearly with our dwindling fertility rates. We can see that, in general with all the social unrest that we have going on. But yeah, I must digress. So shout out to Alexander Pope for telling it like it is in 1735, and there are plenty more, by the way. And I really wish that you guys would open your ears. I really wish that you would listen. I really, really wish that you would pay attention and take in our history, so that we can really get serious about what we're actually supposed to be doing in the present time and how to deal with this. Those with ears, let them hear. Like, comment, subscribe.